January edition of the San Juan IQ, and Happy New Year to everybody too. I'm Jerry McHugh Jr., San Juan Resources, and this month's San Juan IQ will focus on natural gas pricing, what happened in January this year with our index getting so large. But also, I want to let you know that between today and our next IQ, the North American Prospect Expo will be going on in Houston, February 9 through 11. Looking forward to seeing many of you there in person. I was at the summer NAPE. It was fabulous. Just to see, it was like it was just a big breakout party. So, anyways, we look forward to visiting with you. We will be at booth 2026, and we'll be talking about our San Juan Basin prospects in the Mancos. We have. If you look on the map here, the green star is the Mancos Niobrara Oil Project, 25,000 acres. By the way, we have a quarter of that already spoken for, selling the rest of that. And then up to the north, we have McSims. So, and also in case you have to leave early today or want to look at other IQs, we do have presentations on our website, www.sanjuanbasin.com. And there's a link there in the corner that shows everything on the presentations. So that's what we are. And I don't know. I mean, I call them webinars, presentations. I'm not sure what they call them, podcasts or what. But anyways, we seem to have a great following and a great number of people interested in San Juan specific projects. And you know, we're starting our second 100 years, and after the first 100 years, it's been marvelous, and this next second 100 will just be as incredible too. Reminder at the bottom of your panel, submit your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll try to get our guests to go through them. So on the pregame, Rita and I are talking about the millennials in the business, and so I'm happy to have Reed with us here, I think we're talking to a millennial, although I guess you're one of the elder statesmen at your company, so that's even better. Not one of the elder, but so anyways, Reed Page, Marketing Director, Summit Energy. Talk a little bit about Summit, and then tell us what you guys are up to.
Yeah.
And welcome. Happy New Year.
Thanks for having me on, Jerry. It's fun to be on. Yeah, I'm peak millennial. Like, I'm 33, so and I think it's 1980 to 1995 is sort of the millennial time frame. So I'm right in the middle. I'm absolute peak. And in my office, you know, at Summit Energy, there's in Summit Energy proper, because there's sister companies. We have a rig company out of Eastern Utah with like 80 employees, but you know, with 11 pulling units and some dedicated P&As, but Summit Energy, the gas marketing company, there's only like 8 of us in this office right downtown in Salt Lake City, and now let's see, we've got some people in their late 20s, in their mid 20s. So it's like we're a pretty young shop. We're pretty much mostly millennials, to be honest. Though we have a ping pong table that gets a lot of use, and anytime something like there's a moment, you know, of frustration in accounting with like some counterparty or some trade problem. It's like you get it done, and then you walk over to the ping pong table and you just stand there and you wait for somebody else to come over and play ping pong with you, right? So it's, you know, we're creating our own culture, you know, within an energy company, because it's just us. And actually we became employee owned very recently, which was a really big deal. And so, you know, since there's so few of us, it's kind of interesting. We all get feel like we have some skin in the game. But anyway, the generational shift in energy is very real, like very, very, very real. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But we at Summit Energy, our bread and butter, our primary business is here's one of the kids. Sorry, good buddy.
Makes it exciting.
I have twin 4-year-olds, and as I mentioned before, Jerry, he doesn't have any pants on.
Okay. Well,
it's like, oh no, I got to close this. I got to shut this down.
This is a great show already, man.
Yeah, my twin brother's in there, and he should be keeping an eye on it. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, at Summit Energy, what we mainly do, our biggest focus area has been the Wasatch. So in Utah is marketing natural gas in Utah. So we buy gas from producers throughout the Rockies, Western Colorado, New Mexico, Western Colorado, Eastern Utah, and Southwestern Wyoming. And we bring that gas into the demand areas throughout the Wasatch Front. So from all the way to the very top of northern Utah and Cache Valley and Logan, all the way actually down to St. George at the bottom. So we have customers, we have the largest headcount of customers, of end user industrial and commercial customers in the state of Utah. We're like the biggest marketer by number of customers, by number of industrial customers, but we're definitely not by volume. I mean, it's like 2BP, like SEMA.
So you've got a niche as far as the market.
Yeah. So
if I have a plant.
We have lots of
you're taking care of me.
Small to medium industrial, that burn 2 decatherms a day all the way up to 600-700 decatherms a day. And then there's some power plants, and the balancing between the pipelines and utilities are pretty complex because of the way that the rates have been changed in the last decade, which made it really challenging, but we figured it out. We figured out how to avoid all the landmines and we carved out a niche for ourselves. But we've also, since the beginning, for 20 years, we've had a presence in the San Juan as well, marketing natural gas for producers, bringing gas to market, and balancing on gathering systems and pipelines. And in the last 5 years, we've picked up a few bigger loads down there to serve some cities in New Mexico. Albuquerque Public Schools is one of our, we cover, and a number of others on Gas Company New Mexico, or NMGC. And so some of the gas that I buy from my producers down there, it literally straight flows into the utility, and so it's a local resource used by local residents and businesses, and some of it flows a little bit further to the west over towards Snowflake, where we have some load in Arizona. So we always watch San Juan. It doesn't get as much coverage in my monthly price report that I put out for the Rockies. Usually we're focused on sort of further to the north, but man, they're intertwined, they're connected inseparably. What happens in San Juan affects the Rockies. What happens in the Rockies affects the San Juan, and everything has to be looked at as pieces of a greater whole. And so interesting stuff can happen all the way up in northwestern, in the Pacific Northwest, like at Sumas, definitely affects the San Juan, or something happens in Waha, in West Texas, and it affects us clear up north in the Rockies.
Right. And talk about the volumes you have in the San Juan, what you saw in before, I guess, between Christmas and New Year's, or even before Christmas when they were doing bid week. And we, in the pregame, we talked a bit about that. So talk about where are we in the bifurcation, actually the differences between index and where the day is today. So
I'm going to go ahead and screen share. We have, let's go ahead and screen share. I've got a few things that I sort of mocked up here. And and then I have a few of these articles that I thought were interesting. We're gonna take a look really quick at this very interesting interactive U.S. infrastructure map. Right now, I've got turned on the layers for natural gas pipelines and gas processing plants. This is a great visualization of what's out there in terms of gas infrastructure. Now, the preface to all of this is, back in August, something happened. There was a rupture in the El Paso South Main Line on line 2000. So it's down here in Arizona, just right around here, if you guys can see that. And that rupture, they call the force majeure on the pipeline. And this is part of what set the stage for everything that happened at the end of December. This is a big part of it. That rupture, they had to blow down the pipe, and they have to run it at a low pressure. They have to run it like a part of the loop is down, I guess. And so just under half a BCF, so about 450,000 decatherms of daily transmission capacity was taken out of service clear back as early as in late August. And as far as I know, it is still not up. And let's go to, so here's El Paso's actual most recent posting about this. So the original force majeure was back on August 15th. That's when it was posted. So this is update number 8. Update number 8, and this might be pretty small on the share screen, but still reduced operating pressure. They do not have a time frame for bringing line 2000 back to full service. And when you have half a BCF, 450,000 decatherms of gas is not available for transportation across the system, you have all of this Permian gas, this Waha gas, that much is stuck. That much gas would be flowing. It absolutely would be flowing because of the price differential between Texas and Southern California. It wants to flow that way. Water wants to flow downhill. It cannot. Therefore, when I see something like this, the expectation is downstream of the constraint, prices will go higher, and upstream of the constraint, prices will get lower because of that differential. It's going to get even worse, right? And so the market needs to create price signals in order to attract gas from other areas where it can flow from, like, for example, the El Paso North Main Line, which comes from San Juan. I don't know if you can see. Can you see my little cursor?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's looking good. Yeah, real good.
I'm not sure if it shows up on the share. So there's more competition for the same gas over here in San Juan, for example. And notice the only other pipes coming into Southern California really is this one right here. This is Kern River Gas Transmission, and they can only flow so much. Let's see, Vail constraint, I think constrains at like 800,000 decatherms, I think, and that's just right here. What would that be? Just south of St. George.
Right, yeah.
And so you can only get so much gas to sort of easily move into SoCal. So what happens when you remove 450,000? Well, get ready for fireworks, when the demand season really comes and sets in. So that sets the stage for that. The second thing is, and I didn't bring this up, but we will bring it up right now. EIA natural gas storage report. So in the storage report, so the blue line, right, is the lower 48 actual storage number as it posts. And your gray area is the 5-year range, just the top and the bottom 5-year range. And coming into this winter, right, and where this peaks is generally very beginning of November. Coming into this winter, the overall average for the lower 48 was just a few percent below average on the 5-year, just a little bit below. But when you look at the Pacific, and now we're actually looking at current numbers, right? These are all current numbers. These aren't,
These are this past week.
Yeah, this past on Thursday morning, the most recent data.
Thursday is the day. Mm-hmm.
But we started the winter in the Pacific, and if you just look at the Pacific right here, Pacific number, we actually started the winter like 19% below average to begin the winter, the heating season. So we ended the injection season relatively way below average going into winter. And a big piece of this is because of Aliso Canyon, which I hope everyone has heard of by now. Back in 2015, when the Aliso Canyon in Southern California storage facility, there was a well failure, and they blew, this ungodly amount of natural gas just vented into the atmosphere. And that whole thing got way wrenched down by the state, and they were limited to how much gas they're allowed to keep in that storage facility. They're limited to 34 BCF, I believe. That's like 30% of the original operating capacity.
Okay.
50%. Way wrenched down. And when you don't have a reservoir of a huge capacity for storage that will act as a shock absorber in the event of a cold spike, some crazy demand event, polar vortex, whatever, when you don't have that, then it sort of creates a tinderbox, right? It makes the whole market a tinderbox. It's just ready for one little tiny spark of, in our case, a cold spike to send prices all over the map. just all over the place. So you're ripe for huge volatility during the winter. So we're going into winter short on storage. That's already obvious in early August before this pipeline ruptured in New Mexico or in Arizona, before El Paso, that pipeline ruptured. We already knew that we were fixing to see some crazy stuff this winter. Like we saw some last winter. Last winter was actually really mild until February, which don't get me started. February was nuts. I'm still mentally recovering from the big Texas freeze, but we keep going into winter with this very precarious situation because of storage volumes in the West. Now, even in the Rockies, even in the mountain, which extends all up in the Pacific, further north, up in the Pacific North. Pacific includes the Pacific Northwest, but still in the mountains, which includes clay basin storage in northeastern Utah, we started the season like 7% low, which again does not help a whole lot. It's just we're ready for volatility. We're going to see some fireworks. So now we progress into October. We see a lot of crazy price action in October partially because again, the market sees that we're going into the season really low on storage, but also because of everything that's happening in Europe. I don't know if everyone's been following what's happening in Europe, Nord Stream 2 and Germany and Russia and the wild poker game that's happening over there. But just remember, we're going to stop sharing. But in Europe, we have been tracking European prices in the UK. And 10% of dry gas production in the US now is going on the water. It's actually getting whisked away across the world, where people are willing to spend $20 per MMBTU, and we're producing it, for $3. And our market now is worth $5 or wherever. There's a huge spread to be made by putting it on the water. So they're going to do it. It's going to be maxed out. The UK, because of everything that was happening with Putin and Germany and Nord Stream 2 and them wanting to get it permitted to flow. Everyone's playing political games over there. Putin pulls the plug a little bit and pulls back on the other pipeline that supplies Europe. And then it shoots nat gas prices there, local prices in the UK, up to like $30 per MMBTU. We saw our prices come up too. And there was a lot of fear going into winter that this was going to continue to happen all winter. So the whole market started shooting up. And in October, we just saw really, really wild activity in the futures market. We saw NYMEX jumping all over the place. We were very legitimately worried about Rockies going to like $12. And for my downstream end user customers, that's not a good day. It would be a very bad.
You play both sides of the game with customers.
Yes,
so you understand the value of low natural gas prices, the cheap flame as it's been called, and I think it still is called here, at least in the U.S. If we're $5 gas and the rest of the world is $30 gas or more, we're still the cheap blue flame.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, and it's freedom gas, right? Like I laughed when they started talking about freedom gas because I thought it's so goofy, but it's true, So I'm like, well, they're not wrong, right? It's freedom gas, and we still have more gas than you can shake a stick at. It's incredible how much gas is still in the ground and is ready to go. Cost.
Well, we went up. Report I heard from TPH was that the daily went up to 97 point something BCF, just over 2 BCF a day versus what they were anticipating at December 31st. So we're awash in gas, and yet we still get the over $6 index, and I guess the Rockies got even more, right?
Yeah, Rockies is 775. We'll take a look at indexes real quick. I'll shoot over to and I'll screen share and I'll show how prices moved around. My price sheet here, it goes back to I think beginning of October is where I put it. I didn't go all the way back to August because it gets too small to really look at, but we're going to look at it here. And so
the graphs are real good for me.
Okay, I could zoom in a little bit further.
That's great. That's great.
And then we'll just scroll through them. So Sumis, actually, I'll take a look just so that everybody knows what we're talking
Sumis
about.
is that when it comes to
Sumis is Yeah, Sumas is clear up here. You can see where this pipeline comes down. Where Northwest Pipeline comes down. Williams Northwest Pipeline comes down from this interconnect up here at Sumas. And so that's a price point. That's a high liquidity point for British Columbia gas. There's a lot of British Columbia gas. Really, BC is what the Rockies competes. We compete with BC gas for all these markets up in the Northwest. Okay, so when BC gas is super expensive, Rockies gas gets pulled up. When Rockies gas gets pulled up, San Juan gas gets pulled up just a little bit more, as long as you don't have Permian Basin crushing you, which at the moment you don't. You don't have nearly as much.
If Permian comes up on production with that choke point just east of Tucson, is that going to put pressure on the San Juan again, like it did year and a half ago, if they come on? Or I know there's more demand on the Gulf, but
so it's the fact that there's a constraint down here in Tucson it has helped the San Juan, because only so much gas can actually cross.
I see. Okay.
In this direction, only so much, right? And it's maybe it's maxed out, right? It's probably maxed out, which means that the demand here in Southern California is going to fight over the same resources in the San Juan, and then what can come out of the Permian here. If as soon as this constraint goes away, you're going to have Permian gas bypassing all this and again flooding Southern California,
Right.
which turns around and kind of crushes your price right back down.
That Southern Line capacity is normally what? How many BPS per day?
I don't know. I don't know. I never transported on that south, but somebody on the chat's definitely.
Somebody on the chat, give us that number, please. Okay.
Yeah, if anybody's in the chat, just like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it's however many BCF.
That's what knocked us down in 17 to 19, or 17, 18 primarily, when all that Permian, they were flaring all the gas, and even the gas they could produce choked San Juan down below $1.50 basis.
Yeah, there were like 3 days
amazing.
we saw negative pricing at Waha, and it was like, oh man, people are willing to pay 9 cents to get their gas gone.
Amazing. Yeah,
it's just a waste byproduct there. But the more, and that has since resolved just a little bit, because they've built out like Permian Highway and some of this other structure has improved. Hey, close the door, buddy. That was my other one that time.
it's his turn.
All sides.
This is
I
great.
really need to put a lock on this door. And so they've actually improved a little bit the takeaway capacity to the east and up into the northeast, up in the mid-con, which has taken a little bit of pressure off pricing the San Juan. But it's going to come down to the constraints, and understanding where your constraints are is really everything in trade. When you're moving gas from area to area, is understanding where your constraints are and what any given constraint or failure or force majeure, what it will likely do to the market. And as you can see, there's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes things happen that are completely unexpected, and the market reacts in a way that is counterintuitive. So let's see. Let's go back to these prices again. So Sumas is way up here. But we've set the table now. We've set the stage. We know we're low on storage going in, and Aliso Canyon is at a lower capacity. In November, after all these crazy price fireworks, in November, the Public Utility Commission, CPUC, California Public Utility Commission, they agreed to increase the storage capacity of Aliso Canyon a little late, in my opinion. It was beginning of November. As the moment that the storage injection season is essentially over, they decide, oh, we are seeing ourselves in an extremely precarious situation. Let's raise the capacity, the allowed capacity of Aliso Canyon to 41 BCF, I think, 41 million decatherms from 34. Well, cat's already out of the bag, and the injection season is practically over. So I don't know that helped at all. It will probably help next year, assuming that they keep that expansion available. It might help them a little bit, and so this crazy price action might not persist, beyond the summer, when they probably fix El Paso pipeline. But at Sumas, so here's the Sumas index, and you're looking at like 6. It jumps up to 650 in December. Okay, so we went back to the beginning of November on this. So we're November, December, and then the beginning of January. You saw Sumis spike just before Christmas. So this is the 23rd, and Sumis jumped over $10. And I actually have a window up here to to the weather. Let's go to nat gas weather. I use nat gas weather as my is our sort of forecast.
Nat gas weather, huh? Wow.
Natgasweather.com. It's like, oh, how easy can you get? It's like it's a weather subscription. It's most useful for if you're trading and marketing natural gas on pipelines. As a producer, I wouldn't pay the $130 a month. Just like,
don't worry. I'll take your word.
What I would use. But I'll show you what you can use for free. 8 to 15 days. So this is what we were looking at. This is the publication on like the 23rd. And everyone's watching this. There's a giant blue blob over the Pacific Northwest, and it looks like it's probably going to come down. So everyone loses their minds and starts bidding up natural gas on the day to like $10 at Sumis. So here's your spike. Well, let's scroll down because my dates are the same. EPSJ spikes, same day.
And that's El Paso, San Juan daily.
El Paso, San Juan daily. Yep. There's the El Paso Bondad daily, which is very close. There's a Transwestern.
Yep.
TW San Juan daily, same. They follow very, very close to each other. Spikes there. Let's see. El Paso Permian. Interesting.
Goes the other way.
Goes the opposite direction. And notice it's just been getting crushed as winter sets in. Crush.
So the blue is the daily, the orange
blue is the daily,
the index for that given month, right?
Yep. Orange is index.
Going into winter, those indexes just like scary. Holy cow,
Yeah. So this is San Juan versus Permian on the daily. So I put the dailies against each other. San Juan's blue and Permian is orange. And they track all the way through November, and then separation. And then they've come back again.
Come back together. Yeah.
Yeah, they've come back together. And so this is a period of volatility because of the potential for cold.
Well, and that's right around bid week. Was bid week early this month?
It's right on bid week. So that's what was extra complex was because of the way Christmas fell and New Year's. You have bid week wherein indexes are being traded, and that's 8, 7, and 6 business days before the end of the month. So 6, 7, 8. And then bid week fixed prices are the last 5 business days of the month. And fixed price bid week really happened. It happened, that last week before New Year's. So right between Christmas and New Year's. Well, there's those 3 days before Christmas. This is it right here. It happens right in the middle of indexes. Now, while indexes are trading, it's not setting the index, right? So people just got to understand that the index is actually set during the last 5 business days of the month. So the true index happened, those fixed price trades happened during this little period right here, when Sumis was still just shot. It was like 7+.
Yeah, shot through the arm. Yep.
It was just shy of $8. So let's go back down to El Paso. So dailies were trading at El Paso around $6. Dailies are trading right then. People are still really, really nervous about where weather is going to be coming into January. There's some new news. I remember this. There's some news that another polar vortex might come shooting down around New Year's. People are really, really nervous. So dailies in some areas were trading around 7, 8. Balmo, which is a short-term fixed price, for multiple days into the end of the month, that was trading at like $25, $30 in Rockies, like 15, I think, in San Juan. So that's people placing a bet on price. So it's like, hey, I'll buy the last 5 days of the month at a fixed price, and I'll give you $15 for it because I'm worried that it'll go to 50. This was all happening right before Christmas. This was like the Thursday before Christmas. Christmas Eve was Friday, I believe.
Good Christmas present for some people, that's for sure.
For some people, that's if you're a producer, right. And if you were selling, let's see, if you're selling a good chunk of your gas at daily during December, you kind of broke it.
If you had some flexibility. Right.
If you had a little bit of flexibility, maybe you could put some more on and you're selling it a daily. You know, it depends on how your deal is structured with your marketer. It's marketers and traders who were either getting annihilated because they had made some bad risk decisions coming into this, or they're killing it, you know. So it's one or the other. You're doing really well. Or you're just kind of just gliding right down the middle because you were very conservative about everything. That's mostly what we were. You know, we have a lot of stores that we were actually dumping into those last few days because we were able to sell it for 10, 12 bucks. But this is the mentality that was going on out there in that last week, in the last 5 business days of December, during that bid week fixed price trade, which sets the indexes for the coming month. Okay.
So
everyone's just like at, you know, the adrenaline is through the roof during that.
The rumors are running the show.
Yeah. And in the oil field, right? Nothing works harder than the rumor mill.
Oh, yeah. From one end of the rig to the other it'll be a whole different story too.
Yeah.
So we've got about 10, 12 minutes left. What do you see going forward? I mean, we look at our forward curves and if you had, I'm not sure you have one of those, but those tend to just, you know, wave down winter, summer, and on a decline, kind of steady decline, only because we have so much natural gas in this country.
Yeah. Even though we have so much natural gas.
From your little market, what do you see? Not your little, but your area.
Just remember that even though we have so much natural gas, it's locational, right? If you don't have the gas in the right place, it's gonna get crushed, right? That price will get crushed, just like we saw in Permian. And if you look at SoCal, in fact, we can crack open real quick and take a look and see what SoCal dailies are doing. This is our internal sort of company price sheet here, where we keep track of dailies. And this is January, and let's look for SoCal. SoCal posted. Oh, geez, I keep losing it. Well, it's subsiding. Everything appears to have subsided quite a bit, and so clearly temperatures have gotten more mild. SoCal posted 891, and for Northwest Rockies, YO, I keep saying 775. It's not. It's 787. Rockies posted at $7.87.
Okay.
El Paso, San Juan, $6.30. Right. So that's why this is why we ended up where we're at. But look at where dailies have trended, and in my little spreadsheets, you know, my little look, dailies got crushed versus index, because the index was posted during a time of really heightened freak out, you know, and then as soon as the cold weather sort of just disappeared at the beginning of the month, dailies they fell right back down, and the volatility just went away, right?
So are we gas constrained in the West a little bit?
We are.
We haven't added any new volumes to the San Juan Basin. We're starting to with some of the Mancos gas drilling. There's a little bit of Mancos gas drilling, and so there's some associated with the Mancos oil in the southern part of the basin. But there's just 3 to 4 rigs operating at a time.
I'm going to say
a backlog of federal permits, and that's really constraining of the supply, the ability to do things quickly.
Yeah. Well, you're right. There hasn't been much additional infrastructure. And the problem is it's infrastructure it's tough to plan around now because of the way that California's energy market is changing, and how they're incredibly antagonistic to all fossil fuels, and natural gas is the next target, right? As soon as they finish killing off coal, which they're practically done with, they have actually targeted the last nukes at Diablo Canyon, which is insane, completely ridiculous. It's natural gas, because they have these extremely aggressive goals to reduce their carbon footprint, and particularly their carbon footprint from power generation.
They don't understand how the United States gas is the most clean natural gas in the world by leaps and bounds, do they?
Ignore it. There's a carbon in there. Ignore that. There's a carbon in there. Yeah. And so it's the worst thing that you could ever do, right? is burn that,
Well,
that one carbon with 4 hydrogens. So they've got a big
I understand energy poverty is the worst it can be in California. I mean, that from what I hear, it's just
again, ignore
terrible.
Ignore all the good arguments. Ignore all the good arguments and
Oh,
put on
okay.
your
It
California.
doesn't make sense. Okay.
Put on your California hat. Ignore all the good arguments.
Okay. I will.
And here we are.
Here
So
we are.
now it's debatable whether or not should we expand the carryaway capacity toward California if it's clear that they're going to keep trying to put holes in and just wreck their the ability for Californians to continue using and increasing their consumption of natural gas. It's a big question mark. Now, the only big load thing that I think is going to have a significant effect, assuming that all works out, is what called IPP, Intermountain Power Project in central Utah, where they're converting this coal power plant, it's 1.8 gigawatts, I believe, somewhere around there, to a natural gas and hydrogen, natural gas / green hydrogen power plant. But it's supposed to use like 140,000 decatherms a day, 140,000 to make 800 megawatts, something like that. It's over here. What's going to happen there is they're going to suck a whole bunch of supply away from Rockies, and it's going to stop right here as it produces power, which means that San Juan gas gets a little bit more competitive, a little bit more interesting. And so when that happens here in the next 3 years, you're going to see, I think you're going to see some improved pricing. Probably we're going to be competing a little bit with Southern California. Really hard to say what's going to happen more than like 3 years in the future. Practically impossible, and it'd be really silly for me. And like I know, but I think that the volatility will go away.
Do you know much about the line that they're trying to expand to Baja to move the 2 BCF a day of gas that Sempra Infrastructure is putting together in Baja?
I think, are you referring to the Costa Azul LNG?
Costa Azul, yeah.
Yeah.
Turning that around.
That is another thing, and that's probably going to come down off of South Mainline El Paso. So that will provide, and I'm really excited about that because it will provide an additional outlet for Permian gas, right? This will, even though it's not San Juan molecules flowing to the LNG facility, who cares, right? The rising tide lifts all boats. If you can get some more of that Permian gas going over there and they're unloading a BCF a day or whatever onto the water, boy, your pricing is going to get better in San Juan because there's going to be more competition for the same supply in West Texas, in San Juan, and in the Rockies. So it will bode very, very well for gas producers.
Well, and I think I don't know how much you know about Mexico. I know a little bit, but Mexico is drawing, I don't know, 6 to 8 BCF a day from anywhere from some of the Arizona delivery points to, New Mexico has 0 delivery points. Arizona has 4. California has a couple, and Texas has 15. So I know there's about 6 to 8 BCF a day, just domestic Mexico gas. And
Mexico is finally modernizing, and people are getting ACs and they're putting up power plants all over, and it's amazing. It's amazing. And hey, it's energy wealth, because they're able to take advantage of some of this cheap, sweet US gas flowing south. And those are part of our exports, and that's a huge piece again of why our prices have come up in just the last little bit. There's a couple of questions here. George, hey George, it's George Sharp. Says, when did the pipeline rupture occurred in mid-August? I think it was August 13th or 12th, somewhere in there. And Rockies bases didn't jump immediately. None of the bases jumped immediately because of that, because we were still in the middle of it's sort of like in the tail end of injection season. And so the gas wasn't in super demand. And when it just reduces some amount of gas that goes into storage, you don't see that reflected immediately in basis. And oftentimes the market sort of ignores it for the future months until it's an obvious problem. It's like procrastinating the worry. What was the second question? There was another question I thought I saw.
About Jordan Cove being closed, probably shut down permanently.
Yeah, Jordan Cove, Coos Bay.
I mean, I think we sort of answered that with the Costa Azul plant that Sempra Infrastructure is working on.
Both companies were trying to get them done, and I would have loved to see both. It would have been amazing. and our gas prices would have gone up by like a whole other dollar probably. But no, there's the pushback against Coos Bay, against Jordan Cove is just so big. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's dead in the water. Honestly, I would be really surprised if it got revived. It would have helped. Boy, it would have helped a lot. Then I would have had yet another place for all this BC gas to compete to go. You know, it's just another outlet for all the gas that we're producing here.
Well, you'll probably get BC takeaway LNG and Mexico takeaway LNG. I think if Sempra is successful, which I know I'm
they've already reached FID. They're already moving forward. And
yeah. So I mean, Western U.S. is all going to be in Mexico and Canada to move natural gas because that Panama Canals, and they can knock some good transportation time and charges off going through the Panama Canal from the Gulf Coast. However, with our permitting is so tough between California and Washington. Yeah. Any other things to add here?
I think there's the game ain't over, right? For natural gas, we got two decades, like we got 20, 30 years of we're gonna be producing natural gas. What happens during that? We're gonna see some highs and some lows. The next year or two are gonna be pretty good, you know. So get some rigs contracted, guys.
Okay.
And if you got any production into Coots plant, Ignacio plant, San Juan complex, I'm interested. You know, I would love to chat with more of you guys and market a little bit of gas. You know, maybe I can make a penny.
Well, you know, there's a lot of takeaway in intra San Juan Basin of in the field. I've done some just mock studies and I've estimated about 400 a day between Enterprise and Harvest. So
yeah, and
they then they can loop that stuff too. So
then there's oil, right? I mean, people are drilling for oil.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like that ship hasn't sailed. There's opportunity. I don't know a whole lot about oil. You know, I use it, but now the Four Corners, there's still a future. You know? There's still a future, just like back home for me in northeastern Utah. Hopefully, we get a rail soon. There's another chapter, you know, coming.
Yeah, they're talking infrastructure up to Shiprock and Farmington with rail and also hydrogen development. So, I mean, there are many energy transition economies that are favorable to natural gas because you need so much natural gas to make hydrogen. Finally, any guess on when the pipeline will be back on?
Well, in El Paso's own publication to their shippers, they're like, we don't know. We have no idea. Okay. The likelihood, though, is the whole world's going to be coming down on them to fix it because of all this chaos that's happening anytime there's a cold spike. So it'll be fixed, you know, in the spring probably. A few years ago, there was a huge pipeline explosion in British Columbia. If anyone recalls, it was like 2018, and we saw $30 gas dailies, you know, up there north of the Rockies. That happened in October. Again, the worst possible time that it could happen, right at the beginning of the winter season. Didn't get resolved until like summer, until the following summer. So it's like, I'll bet you this. Granted, their situation's worse, frozen tundra and all that stuff. Like maybe you can get a backhoe into, you know, southern Arizona. I'm pretty sure you can right now. It's probably nice.
Okay.
So maybe they can get it done faster, but you know, they'll be investigated this thing. I'm hoping they can get it done here in the next few months.
So there was a lot of investigation on what happened.
Yeah, they said 12 to 24 months of investigation. Good grief. I hope that they get to fix it before the investigation.
Well, the current administration likes to weaponize those departments to hurt our energy, our domestic energy tremendously. So
yeah, I mean, but if they were to do that and they halt it, they're killing California. You know,
one guy has a question here: how do we track other pipeline disruptions? And last question here: other pipeline disruptions and storage problems in the United States. How do we do that?
There's not a good way unless you're just scouring the news all the time. You know, you're scouring the news. Now there's some news programs. There's a certain types of news feeds. You can get an RSS feed. Sorry. You can actually pay for an RSS feed. There's certain services out there, which is basically an app or a program on your computer or in your browser that is constantly scraping all the news for certain keywords.
Okay.
You can do that for like $5 a month. You can totally do that.
Okay.
Disruptions clear up in New York and Maine and stuff, like not really going to affect you very much. Florida.
We need Western West from Texas West. Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing. But it's going to constantly be dropping in stuff as news pops up.
Okay.
I really wish that there was. So this thing that I have up in front of us is from Baker Institute, and I put the link into the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's great.
It's amazing. And there's so many layers: coal plants, natural gas plants, power transmission lines. It's incredible. It's pretty up to date. Since I know gas pipelines, I zoomed in.
Okay. Well, I mean, I could talk about this all day, but I got this normal job I got to get back to, my day job. So we really appreciate your time, Reed. Totally incredible detail, and it really brings it down to the San Juan Basin picture, and we're just poised in a good spot there for a good growth in not only natural gas but oil markets as well. I best wrap up here. I just want to let you know our next San Juan IQ will be with another millennial. We've got we're talking about federal matters affecting the San Juan Basin, from permitting and leasing. The government seems to be using their departments to slow play our permits, on-site inspections. Oftentimes, and we all get this in a lot of areas, COVID is the cause. It's the excuse du jour of why we can't do something. So we'll be having someone with the Western Energy Alliance, Trip Parks, is going to talk with us about that and how that affects the San Juan Basin. And then on the 15th, I like at this time of year, the February and the March days are all the same day of the week. So March 15th is going to be Sempra Energy and Infrastructure. Jim Deemer, the Regional Vice President Midstream, is going to talk about their Coast Azul project, how they're working with Western states, tribal nations, how they're working with producers and end users, probably in Asia, that's going to take the natural gas in boats from the Coast Azul plant. They're initiating this, should be coming on in 2024, but he's got some data analysts and some of his other marketing people are quite incredible. So maybe they'll be on the show too. So that's March 15th. And then by April, we'll look at some supply chain disruptions and how that affects the San Juan Basin. So trying to keep things relevant only because I'm really curious about that. And I find it, just from today's, I learned so much myself. So somewhat self-serving. So really, I really appreciate you helping me and coming on, Reed. Really nice to meet you too, and look forward to seeing you in person if you're ever in Denver. So
yeah, Jerry. Yeah, thanks so much again for having me. I was actually nervous. I was like, I hope I have something to contribute. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I think this is fabulous.
I was like worried. I was telling my wife.
Oh, really
I hope I have enough stuff to talk about. But here we are.
Again, I want to thank Lori Walters, who's backed me up and produced the presentation today. And Lori's been at San Juan for over 15 years. Besides IQ production, she has a day job and handles all of our oil and gas, finance, production, reporting, land work, all sorts of things. So thanks for letting me take the reins, Lori, on this important presentation today. So thanks everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you next month if we don't, and hopefully we'll see you at NAPE in first part of February. So thanks a lot.